Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, my friends, whenever you are joining for this practice. My name is Brenton, and the name of today's practice is called Move Well. So it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, what your pre-existing conditions might be. It doesn't need to be confusing. We'll aim to get a really accessible, progressive, educational practice in today that's also very fun and aims to simplify the best practices of movement so that our joints can benefit from being moved in all the ways that they're designed to move. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on our backs. So take your time to come on down here, just make yourself nice and comfy. You can move around to begin with in any way that feels good. And let that be a guiding principle throughout our practice today as well, so that if anything that I'm offering just doesn't feel, for whatever reason, like the right choice to make, feel free to override that. Consider this choose your own adventure. Now, whatever movement that we take today, we want to pair it with a nice, calm, deep breath in and out through the nose. It's really low into the body, so less into the chest, more into the abdomen, as much as you can manage that. And breathing just in and out through the nose as much as you can manage that as well. So the first part of moving well is getting certain areas of our body really tuned into what their jobs are. And one of those areas is our glutes, our big booty muscles. So if you ground your feet wherever it's comfortable for you, we'll lift our hips up off the ground for a low bridge pose. We really want to get the glutes on here. So you can even take your hands and kind of feel into the glutes there. Make sure that they're contracting for you. You might even pulse the pelvis a little bit up and down, which will just kind of wake up the glutes. If you spend a lot of time sitting down and leading more or less a sedentary life, it's likely that the glutes are pretty sleepy. But once they get clear about their jobs, then they can be supporters of our movement, and it actually makes movement feel easier and more accessible to us. So let's see if we can lift our hips up, holding there, holding at the glutes. You can take a break at any time. And we'll just start to march the feet. So lifting the right heel down, lifting the left heel down, alternating, lifting the heels one at a time, pressing down with the big toe mound, and negotiating a position for the low back here where the low back feels good. So it doesn't feel pinched or overly compressed or anything like that. Now, if you can manage lifting both heels together, lift both heels together a few times. Really control the descent down. So slowing the descent down. And then last but not least, if you're ready to add on even a little bit more, walk the feet a little bit more centered here. Keep the left heel rooted down as we lift the right knee up over the pelvis. Taking the right foot down, left knee lifts up over the pelvis. Left foot down. This might be too much, in which case you just stick with the heel lifts, either one at a time or both together. But doing the one leg will really get the glutes clear on their jobs in no time at all. Keeping the front body compact into the back body, feeling that the rib cage is drawing down towards the back wall of the body. And as we feel ready, lower all of that down to the ground. Nice, deep, easy, soft breathing here. If you have a yoga block, you can grab that. If you don't, no big deal. We'll move on to our ab work. So now we're going to turn the focus onto the abdomen in the front of the body, getting all of those muscles clear on their job as well as supporting units of the torso. So if you have the yoga block, placing it in between the thighs, taking the legs up over the pelvis there. We want to get a sense that sacrum, it's right in between those little back dimples, is pressing down on the floor as the tailbone lifts. ground your organs down, your rib cage down. Interlock the hands behind the head there. So we want to keep the chin nice and tucked into the throat, and then we'll lift up off the shoulder blades. So we want to take this movement from the abdominals contracting to pull the bottom ribs down and lift the chest up. Make sure that the neck is not over efforting here. The shoulders are not over efforting. You can kind of shake out through the head a little bit there. Squeezing the block if that's what you have. Lifting up off the shoulder blades and release. So again, the purpose here is just to get the front abdominals clear on their job. Taking the legs up, lifting up off the shoulder blades and nice and soft into the hands there. Pull the right toes down towards the face, pressing the heel up, and at the same time, point and curl through the left toes, really curling the arch of the foot. Lift up off the shoulder blades, keep the chin tucked into the throat, and release. So keep breathing, even though your abdominals are contracting. We'll lift up off the shoulder blades again. Head nice and soft into the hands here. This time we'll flex the left toes down to the face, point and curl the right toes up towards the ceiling. So opening up through the feet and ankles, lifting up off the shoulder blades and release. Here we go, we'll come up again. Head nice and soft into the hands. We'll flex the right toes down to the face, point and curl the left toes up. Switching through the feet here, point and curl the right toes, flex the left toes. One more time, pull the right toes down. Option, keep the head in the left hand, free the right arm and reach it long alongside the ear side. Lifting up off the shoulder blades, that'll get into the abdomen really strong, and release. Okay, one more time, coming up off the shoulder blades, head nice and soft into the hands, flex through the left foot, point and curl through the right toes there, switch. One more time, keeping the left toes, really pulling down to the face, release the left arm nice and long by the ear side, lift up off the shoulder blades, and let it go. Okay, last time we can do it. Here we go, coming up off the shoulder blades. Head nice and soft into the hands. Flex the right toes, point and curl the left toes. Switch. Switch. And then this time, release the right arm by the ear. Option, release the left arm by the ear. That's gonna load us like crazy. Switch the feet. Switch the feet. Switch the feet. And let it go. All right, we made it through. So we're nice and taut in the abdomen there. Now they're clear about their jobs. Let's go ahead and roll on up to a comfortable seated position there. We can outstretch the legs nice and wide. And here we want to get a sense that we have freedom of movement, lots of movement choices. So you can fold, you can twist, side bend here. If you're feeling a little bit more constricted, either in your legs or in your back, you might like to lean back and sort of take some cat-cow movements here. But this is a nice time to expose the legs and the hips to a wide-legged position. Okay, I wonder if it's the same link.
Yes.
Okay. So sorry about that, we just dropped internet for a second. That's what you get when you're live streaming. So we'll lift up and down off the wrists here, loading the wrist and trying to get the forearms to turn on. So hi Paul, you're asking what poses we're doing tonight. We're doing a lot of poses, standing poses. It's called Move Well, so we're gonna move our joints through pretty much all the range of motion that we can. So starting to feel the forearms nice and fired up here. From here, we can actually start to pop ourselves up onto the fingers and grip the floor so that the hands feel nice and active. From there, we can begin to walk the hands around, turning the fingers to face back towards the legs here. And if you like, you can lower the wrist down, bend the elbows, keep the wrist down, and shift the hips back. So stretching out through those forearm flexors. Okay, from here, we'll go ahead, turn down onto the forearms, take the elbows underneath the shoulders, more narrow than you might think, hands wide or clasped, that's up to you. And then we'll lift up off the knees for Dolphin. So relaxing through the head here, lifting the rib cage up into the shoulder blades, pelvis lifting away from the head there. And we want to feel now the shoulders and the arms turn on. So really push there instead of relying on gravity. Getting all the muscles around the armpit, the shoulder blades, relaxing through the head and neck. Giving it a couple more breaths here. We'll pedal out through the feet, taking one knee in, lowering the other heel. Same thing on the other side. Then the next time that you bend the right knee in, so you're up on that heel, flip on top of the left foot, so you're stretching out through the front of that foot. And then taking that left foot down, bend the left knee into the abdomen, take the right heel down, flip on top of the right foot. As we feel ready from here, dropping down to the knees, coming up to the hands. We want the fingers and the palms to grip the floor, and we want the spine to be lifting up into the shoulder blades. Feel the neck and throat in line with the spine here, and then see, can you hold the shape of the spine as you hover the knees up off the ground, riding energy up into the arms, so nice active arms into the shoulders, and then shift the pelvis up and back to downward facing dog. You can pedal out through the knees there. Your downward facing dog does not need to look like mine, so you can practice with your feet wider, your knees more bent, more high onto the tippy toes, anything in service of getting the pelvis far away from the head. From here, we'll push off the hands one at a time to walk all the way back to the feet there, bending into the knees at the back of the mat, just kind of moving around here in any way that feels good. So part of moving well is just getting the nervous system to really accept the movement that we're doing, getting the nervous system to feel safe. So bending into the knees, slowly rolling our spine all the way up to stand there. When we get to the top, hands onto the pelvis as you rock the pelvis a little bit forward and backward. Here you get to see, like, how do I normally hold my pelvis? For me, it's definitely the forward tilt. But you might find you're more scooped under like this. So we want to try to get it so that the pelvis is upright as possible, even if that means the knees bend. Then slide the hands up to the ribs. Same thing here, pulling the ribs up and back. And then trying to set the ribs right over the pelvis. Slide the hands behind the head, lightly guide the head up and back into the hands with the chin pulled into the throat. And imagine this is your neutral spine. So move the arms and shoulders around this neutral spine as you reach the arms up and down a few times. And then from here, hands onto the pelvis. We want to maintain this shape of the spine as we hinge forward at the hips any amount. That could be an inch, it could be a couple of inches. Press through your strong feet and come up. So use your glutes for this, sitting back into the glutes as you come down to hip hinge, and then use the hips, the glutes to drive you back on up to stand. So really try to get it just in the hips where your chest stays open, your neck and throat stays in line with the spine. None of those relationships alter or change. So you're learning to decouple the movement of the hips with the movement of the low back and of the upper back. So you're really tuning up your strategy for moving up and down from the floor here. Hinge forward at the hips. When your hips stop you, waterfall yourself over your legs as long as that feels good. We'll walk ourselves forward back to downward facing dog. Using the hands to grip the floor, draw that energy up through the arms into the shoulders. And from here, shift the shoulders forward over the wrists so you're in plank pose. Now your shoulder blades set the height, so lift up into the shoulder blades. Pelvis is at the same height there. Neck and throat lifting. Shift the hips up and back, downward facing. Shift the shoulders forward. Everything ripples through to plank. And back, downward facing. Last time here, shifting all the way forward. This time we'll tap the knees down. Keep everything lifting up into the shoulder blades. And now we keep the spine in this relationship. We just bend the elbows an inch behind us, grip the floor, push back up. Bend the elbows an inch, push back up. Bend the elbows an inch, push back up. This time slowly lower with your strength, keeping the shoulders lifted, relaxing through the tops of the feet. When we come down here, take the forearms down underneath the shoulders. Feel the front of the body peel like a sticker off the floor into the back of the body. From here, extend the wrists, lifting the fingernails up towards the shoulders, and tap the hands down. Extend the wrists, tap them down. So we're getting into some active wrist motion here, really making the forearms work to create the position. This is the key to getting stronger and making all of our weight bearing more sustainable over time. So taking the palms down, roll the pelvis up off the ground, tuck the toes, lift the knees, push back through the heels, shift forward through the shoulders, hold here, forearm plank. As we feel ready, knees touch down, coming back down to Sphinx. This time we're gonna open the forearms the other way, so the elbows can rotate in and out. Now we're doing the rotation. So now flexing the wrists, laying the hands down, flexing, laying the hands down, flexing, laying the hands down. Option, tuck the toes, lift up, forearm plank. As we feel ready, walk the knees forward, tuck the toes here, sit back onto the heels if that's okay with you. From here, we want pelvis neutral, ribs neutral, chin neutral, arms down at the side. Everything's nice and open on the chest. When the shoulders are set in neutral, the thumbs will rest forward. From here, we'll go with the right arm, tracking it all the way up into shoulder flexion. Then we'll track the right arm down and back behind us like a cape to shoulder extension. Now here's the key as we keep moving like this. By the way, you could do this in a standing position or release the feet at any time, but here we're just getting more bang for our buck. We want to decouple shoulder movement from movement of the ribs and spine. So keep your ribs and spine super still as you do the other side. Left arm tracking up and back. So our shoulders can make 6 different movements. Here we're playing with 2 of them. We're getting those movements decoupled from the ribs and from the spine. After this last one, taking the arms down, rotating in and out. Now your brain may initiate this movement at your hand. We just learned that the forearms can rotate. So let the rotation happen in the forearms, but then also ensure that it happens up at the upper arm bone. Here's 2 more of those shoulder movements. Last 2 shoulder movements, out and in. Abduction and adduction. Again, trying to decouple these movements from movements of the spine. So my feet are really feeling it here. You may have already bowed out of the feet movement, that's okay. From here, we'll come forward, we'll tap out through the feet, pointing the toes. Finding tabletop position here. And with the toes pointing straight behind us, lift the knees, tap the knees down, lift the knees, tap the knees down, lift the knees, turn over the feet, downward facing. From here, push off the hands one at a time to walk all the way back, relax the head. Bend into the knees, slowly peel the front of the body to the back body as you round up. Ground down, reach the arms all the way out and up to the sky and all the way down in front of the chest. Find yourself a nice standing position here, neutral pelvis, ribs, chin, getting yourself nice and lifted. Track the shoulders into flexion and then track them back and down like a cape into extension. All the way into flexion. Add some rotation, internal and external in the flexed position. Just getting the shoulders to acknowledge that they have 6 ways of moving. Some of those ways can be combined. Turn the palms in, track the arms down into extension, and rotate the shoulders here. Right, so we're combining rotation with extension. Release the arms. Hands onto the pelvis here. Start your heel bops up and down. So really getting into those feet. Try to really get the calves to do this. Get right up over that big toe ball mound, keeping your spine in a nice neutral position. If you can manage going a little bit faster, go a little bit faster. Keep your vision soft, your facial muscles soft, your breath soft. Okay, from here, we're going to ground the left foot. We're going to step the right foot forward into a tightrope. Manage the balance here with the arms down in front. We'll build fists and get some tension going through the arms. Now get your spine in neutral as best you can understand that, and squeeze your shoulder blades together without letting any of the front body push forward. Then keep the shoulder blades together, lift the shoulder blades up to the ears, keep your chin tucked, and then pull your shoulder blades away from each other and slide them down. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. We're going to make these box-like movements. Keep some tension in the arms. Slide your shoulder blades up. Move the shoulder blades apart and slide them down. So this is trying to get the upper back muscles to turn online. Let's do this one more time. And if you're new to this movement, it takes many repetitions for the brain to figure out how to get these puppies fired up. So don't expect perfection. That's also part of moving well, is understanding the gradual nature of this. The brain's laying down patterns. Walk yourself forward. This time, your shoulder blades are down and they move out away from each other at the bottom. Then they slide all the way up. Then they squeeze together at the top, trying to not roll the arms with them. Just keeping them together, just move them down, keep the chin tucked, move them apart, slide them up, squeeze them together. We got one more box-like movement. So these are small little movements, but they make a big difference for our shoulder health and our shoulder longevity. You might even feel a little cramping in your neck, cramping in the other upper back. Once you get down there, just move it out. Circle the shoulders a little bit here. Walk yourself forward. As you walk yourself forward, hands onto the hips. We're going to see if we can hip hinge here, any amount. Remember, that could be just an inch of movement. Coming back up. So now there's a different balance challenge here. Hinging forward any amount. Coming back up. If you want to add some shoulder reaches here, you can reach the arms and come back up. You can even go over to the side and come back up. Woo. You could even come over to the other side and come back up. And then walking ourselves forward, hands onto the pelvis to begin with. Find your spine. And again, just try to hinge from the hips. Coming back up, hinging at the hips, coming back up, and then you decide if you add the arms. Now the shoulders are a little bit more turned on. Remember, the glutes' job is to support you, so really use the glutes. If you want to come over to the side, if you want to come over to the other side. Finally, walking ourselves all the way to the top of the mat. Set your feet however you like them for chair pose. As we bend into the knees, the hips go back. We go a little bouncy here. Imagine your leg bones or your leg joints like accordions. So the ankles, knees, and hips right in here moving. The low back, not so much. Low back is in like a baby back bend neutral position. We'll take the arms and then we'll press down. We'll reach the arms up and take the arms down by the side. Coming back down to chair, reach the arms, come back up. Sliding up and down, chair pose up and down. So again, really repatterning how we move up and down from the floor, using the leg joints to flex and extend. Okay, Chair pose, hinge forward, waterfall the spine. Keep the shoulders over the wrists as you step the feet back to plank. Keep the ribs lifting into the shoulder blades, pelvis lifting, throat lifting. Tap the knees, lift the knees, tap the knees, lift the knees. Keep going. So if you're still building strength for push-ups, this will really help you develop some shoulder awareness, shoulder stability. Your choice, knees lifted or lowered. Slowly lower with your strength all the way down. Relax through the tops of the feet, slide the hands back underneath the elbows, roll the shoulders away from the ground. Work the glutes and the abs so that the low back has a lot of space as you peel the chest off the ground using your back muscles. Coming down, peeling the chest, coming down. Peel the chest up any amount here. Hover the hands, unhinge the elbows, pushing back. And then bend the elbows, hover the wrists. A couple of times. Make sure the low back feels nice and long here. Recruit your glutes, your low abdomen, your pubis bone, if you know what that is pressing down into the floor. Press back, flex and extend the wrists in this position. Lots of different ways to get our wrists strong for weight bearing. Bend the elbows, hover the hands underneath the armpits, roll the shoulders up. Try to stay organized as you push up to the knees. Tuck the toes, shift the pelvis up and back to downward facing. Okay. Downward facing dog, we'll slowly begin to walk the feet forward towards the hands, weight shifting more over the wrists. And if you lose the mobility at some point, you get stuck, bend your knees. And when you lose it, you can just pick your hands up and finish walking up without your hands, okay? Relaxing through the back of the neck there, dangle and shake out through the head and neck a little bit. Root down through the knees, slowly roll the spine all the way up. When you come up to stand, reach the arms up, slide the arms down, okay? From here, we'll come back into chair pose. We'll do our chair pose up and downs again. Now, if you are feeling really fancy about the whole thing, when you come up, add a hop and come down. Okay, coming all the way up here. Step the left foot back, so we're in a high lunge. The feet are close enough together that you can get your pelvis upright and you can use your legs to draw into the pelvis here. So it's not the deepest, most fancy lunge you've ever done. Front body contents, pull into the back body, and then we'll interlock the fingers in front of us and dome the arms. So really get a sense for the spine as neutral as it can be here. Organ contents hugging to the back wall of the body. We'll start turning to the right with the ribs. Do your best to hold the legs strongly into the pelvis. So you're developing hip stability while you're developing thoracic spine mobility. Imagine the spine has been shish kebabbed. You're just rotating around that shish kebab. Okay, from here, we're gonna turn all 10 toes open to the long edge of the mat to the left. Bend into the left knee for a side lunge. If the right fingers can touch the ground, that's great. If not, they can touch up to a block or some furniture. And from here, we'll open the left arm for a little twist. Again, pull the contents of the front body into the spine and rotate around an imaginary shish kebab, pulsing into that left leg a couple of times. From here, we'll take the hands to the pelvis, turn the chest to face down to the ground. With control, come back to our lunge to the front. When we're in our lunge, find ourselves nice and vertical up over the pelvis, and then we have the option to bend the knees and touch down to the floor. Pressing all the way up, pivot open to the side, bend into the left knee, side lunge. Control ourselves back to the front, high lunge position. Bend one or both knees. Coming all the way back up, turning open, side lunge to the left.
Coming all the way forward, nice and controlled, bending into the legs. Coming all the way over, side lunge to the left, and this time hands onto the floor, cruising left to right. Using the feet, a little sense of a push and a pull on the feet. Okay, coming back through center here, ground down through the feet, roll yourself up. We're in horse pose, heels in, toes out. Make sure the pelvis is nice and upright. If it's pitching forward, turn your toes more forward. We can bounce a little bit here, feeling the legs draw up into the pelvis. So again, we're never sinking to the depths of the pose here. We always want to feel like we're drawing in and up, nice supported posture. From here, turn your left toes to the long edge, right toes forward. Find warrior two with the shoulders reaching out to the side. So here's our other shoulder movements. If we abduct and adduct, going out and in. Again, trying to find some disassociation from the shoulders to the rest of the spine and the ribs. So finding our warrior two arms here, and then from here, feeling the legs zip up into the pelvis, holding the pelvis nice and still, anchoring it as we flow back and forward. So really getting a sense the glutes are doing their job here to support us, feeling all sides of the body equally open throughout the entire chain of movement. Maybe that does less range of motion. Hey, Ollie, I think the thing just went black. Thank you. Okay. And then from here we go. We're going to turn back towards the front. We're in our high lunge. And in our high lunge, we're going to press down, unweight the back foot, bring it up in front of us. We're going to attempt to hinge forward using the hip, not the back, and push back through that left heel there. So we're in a warrior three. Really loading that standing leg, pulling the throat up, the ribs up, ground that left foot down, ground the hands, right leg lifting up and back, one-legged dog there. Weight, evenly set the pelvis between the armpits so your leg is not super high off the ground, toes pointing down. Without moving the rest of your body, bend your right knee into your abdomen, push the heel back. So just like the shoulders, the hips have 6 positions that they can move in. Here's flexion, knee in, extension, leg out. So you can think of flexion as deepening the hip crease and extension as flattening the underwear crease. Okay, from here, we're gonna step the right foot forward, step the left foot forward. We're gonna begin to shift the weight forward over the hands. When you lose the mobility, just pick your hands up off the floor, walk yourself the rest of the way up. Here we go, forward folding at the top of the mat, bending into the knees, press down, slowly roll yourself all the way up, reach up, taking the hands down. Coming back to chair pose, arms forward. This time we're gonna hold the chair in the legs, take the arms back, airplane arms. Hold chair pose as you come forward and back. 2 more times. This time, press down, reach all the way up. Taking the hands down in front of the chest. Here we go. We'll step the right foot back, so we're in a lunge to the left. Short enough distance that you can get the pelvis upright, the spine upright over it. You feel as neutral as possible, as best you understand what that means. Really get up on the toe mound of that back foot so you feel the glutes on and working for you here. Interlock the fingers. Here we go. We'll start turning to the left. Again, and working to anchor the pelvis, using the legs to pull into the pelvis to hold it in its position. Okay, from here we go. We're gonna turn open to the right, side lunge into the right leg. If you can reach down with the left fingers, that's great. Reaching the right arm up, a little twist there. Feeling both legs, so flush your body with attention like light filling a room. As we feel ready, face the floor, hands to the pelvis. We're gonna turn forward. Here we are in our lunge, peeling ourselves back upright. Option to bend the knees, attempting to kiss the ground, pivoting back open, side lunge to the right, turning ourselves back forward. So getting the brain to map a little bit of this coordination. And one more time. Okay, turning open. This time hands come down to the ground as we cruise a little bit left to right, using the feet in like a pushing and pulling sort of action. Okay, bend the knees, slowly roll the spine all the way up. Here we go. Heels in, toes out, horse pose. Pelvis nice and upright here, and a little bit of a bounce. So always feeling like the joints are well supported by muscular activity around the circumference of the hip joint. Let's turn this into warrior two to the left. Right toes to the long edge, left toes forward. We want the pelvis to feel like it's level in the hip bone area, so it's not tipping like so. So what do we have to do? Do we have to bend the back knee? Do we have to pull into the back leg? Whatever we have to do to get the pelvis nice and evenly set, arms wide. From here, we can play with abduction, adduction of the shoulders, two of its movements. When they come up, play with your rotation. So they can rotate in the abduct and adducted planes. And then with palms out, zip the legs up into the pelvis as you reach back and forward. And really feel for yourself here, like the containment of the torso. So even if that means you do less, do less. Do less, and you will get more from it. Okay. From here, we're going to turn back to face the front. Here we are in the high lunge. Unweight the back foot as we load the front foot, right knee in front of the body. Can we use the hips to hinge forward over that left leg? Push back through the right heel to warrior three. Really get it into that left glute. What do we have to do to get that left glute on? Really supporting us. Step the right foot back, hands down, left foot up, toes face the ground. Only move at the hip as you bend the left knee into flexion. Push the heel back, extension. Couple of times. Taking that foot down to the ground, shift the weight forward to plank. Here we are, top of a push-up. Decide how you want to come down to the floor there. Once we're down, release the tops of the feet, tent the fingers under the armpits or wider off the mat. Grip the floor and pull the space between the fingers as you roll off the ground and aim out. So just go on your own time as you grip and you squeeze the fingers into each other. Let that create a rippling effect of activation up your arms into your chest. And choose a range of motion that works for the low back. Want to feel the whole front of the body peel off the floor like a sticker. So you're containing the energy along the length of the spine. Slide the hands underneath the armpits, roll the shoulders away from the ground, contain yourself, press up to the knees, tuck the toes, shift the pelvis up and back, downward facing dog. Pick the right foot up off the ground, press it back, we're back to the one-legged dog. Now we'll play around with hip adduction and abduction. So stretch your right leg out to the side without moving the pelvis, and then across over to the left. So you're just painting it left to right. Again, trying not to move the pelvis. Keep your side waist evenly long on both sides. Use the grip of the hands, driving all the way up into the shoulders. Cross your right leg behind, lower it down to the ground so you're in a cross-legged position. We're going to rock our downward facing dog, left and right, picking up one hand and then the other. And then we'll see if we can use this, rocking our way all the way back into a cross-legged forward fold at the back of the mat. Relax the chin, Shake out through the head there. Bend the knees, push the right knee into the left knee. Slowly roll ourselves all the way up, reaching the arms all the way up to the sky. Taking the hands down here, step on the left foot, draw the right leg up in front of the body. Get yourself as vertical, as lifted as you can, so you're not leaning back, relying on the leverage of your skeleton, okay? Decouple the hip from the low back, so take your hand to the low back, map it as you pulse the right hip a little bit. So we're in hip flexion. If you have tight hip flexors and you do this every day for 2 weeks and see if your hip flexors still feel tight. Okay, step it down and forward. Take your left knee up. So your low back is out of the picture when you're pulsing at that left hip. You're really pulsing deep in the socket of the hip, trying to unglue it, declump it from that low back. Doing it enough that you really start to feel some muscle activation, even a little bit of muscle fatigue. Stepping it forward, right leg, it goes up. Now what if we wanted to turn this into hip extension? So we're going to take the right knee by the left knee. The aim is to flatten the underwear crease right here. So to do that, you need frontal hip bone into the body as you draw the knee down. Use your glute, use your hamstring. Your hamstring might start cramping here as you push and you pulse. When you push and you pulse, you're not pulsing from the low back. Again, you're keeping that frontal hip bone in, and you're using the hamstring muscle right here. It might start cramping, and if that's the case, take a break. Okay, step it forward, left leg up. Use your hands to map. They can be very useful. Bring the left leg, hip into extension here, frontal hip bone in. You can start pulsing back with the foot. There's not a ton of range of motion that's available to us, so be satisfied with just little teeny tiny pulses. Keep your front ribs pulling down towards the hip. Okay, and then stepping all the way forward. We'll do this one more time, right knee up, pulsing in hip flexion. If you want, draw your knee up into a more passive range, not your low back, right? Your low back's out of it. Then see if you can hold the passive range strongly. Same option for back here. As you go back to hip extension, you can pulse or you can grab for the foot, pull into the passive range of hip extension and ask the hamstring to hold it. Yowza. Let it go, feel your legs. It's okay even if they're cramping. Last time, left side, you can pulse, you can stay with the pulsing, or grab the knee, pulling into the passive range, not the low back again, seeing if you can hold your passive range, and then taking it down and back. Option to pulse back here, or grab for the foot, pull it into the passive range, left frontal hip bone in, front ribs down, and then can you hold? Whoo-wee! Breathe. Taking the foot down. Let your leggies be okay with this. They're fine. We'll work on the spine now. So separate the feet, a little bend into the knees, nice neutral through the spine. Interlock the hands behind the head. Working with some spinal flexion as you tuck the chin in. And you start curling the spine down vertebra by vertebra like a cinnamon roll, rolling into itself. Your head will be the center of the cinnamon roll. Notice where it's easy to move in the spine. Notice where you feel a little bit more stuck. And distribute some of the movement to the bits that feel more stuck. Okay, so just go down as much as you can, really getting every little part of the spine there that you can. Pressing all the way down, rolling all the way up. We'll all be on our own time frame here as you unwind to a little bit of spinal extension. Again, same principle, lifting the vertebra away from each other, distributing that movement to the bits that feel more stuck. And then one more time, chin in, rolling down like a cinnamon roll. You might not be used to doing this in a yoga practice, but very good for the spine to move in all the ways that it can move, flexing and extending being one of them. Grounding, coming all the way back up. Now let's fold forward a different way. So find your neutral spine here, soft bend into the knees, hinge at the hips, ground the hands, keep the shoulders forward over the wrists as you step the feet back to plank one at a time. We'll tap the knees down here. When the knees tap down, keep yourself lifting into the shoulder blades. Unweight the right hand, pull the right elbow up, right hand down. We're gonna peel open, stepping the left foot back to a half side plank. So peeling everything open there. Taking the left hand down, knee down, but the knees are still behind the hips. Right elbow up, and then opening up, half side plank. Here we go. You have the option when we come down to lift the knees. You're in regular plank. Pull the right elbow up. Option to move into full side plank. Coming back, right elbow up, right hand down, side plank. Last time, up, side plank, left hand down, coming all the way down. Releasing through the tops of the feet, slide the hands back, pinkies up, lift the legs for Locust Pose, make sure that the low back feels good. Swim through the legs. We just woke up those hamstrings, so really feeling them work to lift the legs, glutes on. As we feel ready, hands underneath the shoulders, roll the shoulders up, push up to the knees, tuck the toes, shift up and back, downward facing. Keep the pelvis level, stretch the left leg up to the sky, one-legged dog. Paint left to right, adduct, abduct. So trying to keep the pelvis out of it. You're trying to declump the leg from the pelvis. So it may not be a ton of movement, and that's okay. We'll step the left foot behind the right, and then we'll rock in the down dog. Picking one hand up, then the other. Feeling the ribs lift into that shoulder blade, whatever shoulder blade is supporting us. Walking ourselves all the way back. Bending the knees, the left knee pushes into the right knee. Nice forward fold there as we slowly roll ourselves all the way up. Here we're gonna unweight the left foot, bring it in front of us, the hips flexed. Now we could start rotating the hip in and out. Try to declump it from the pelvis, from your low back. So you're just wagging it in the socket, okay? As you feel ready, left foot down, right leg up, wagging it in the socket. You may not have a ton of range of motion, so don't demand range of motion that you don't have. Try to be very specific, very meticulous about the range of motion you do have. That will make your nervous system feel safe. Your nervous system might give you more tomorrow. Step it down, coming up with the left leg. Again, you can wag. If you want to externally rotate, cross over the leg, sit down to figure four, you might do that. Lots of options are fair game here. You can fold, you can arm balance, you can stretch the arms, you can twist. When you're ready, taking the left leg up, taking it down, right leg. Again, we wag. And remember, the wagging is a totally legitimate, wonderful place to work. If the wag turns into external rotation, into a figure four, then that's where it goes. Nothing is a demand. Okay. Press all the way down, reach all the way up. Coming to the top of the mat, standing here. Let's return to our chair up and downs. So here we go, up and down. And one last time, if you want to build a little bit more heat, come up and hop. Okay, from here, hinge forward. Taking the feet together if that feels okay. Coming onto the tippy toes. Seeing if you can come into a toe stand. We did a lot of footwork tonight. Okay. Coming down to a seat. Taking the legs in front, the hands back with the fingers facing forward if you can manage that. If it feels better to turn them out, turn them out. So this is shoulder extension here. Trying to get the spine, the pelvis through the crown, nice and easy. We want to feel the grip of the hands, activation of the arms up into the shoulders, and the shoulders spinning away from us into external rotation. From here, keep the chin tucked, press down, lift the hips, reverse table. Micro bend the elbow, or I don't know if that's the best cue. Grip the floor and pull activation up the arms into the shoulder. Keep the chin tucked as you lift up at the pelvis. As you feel ready, shift the hips down. See if you can come to boat. Boat might be a one-leg endeavor like this, right? Could be with hands supported behind you. Ground the feet, ground your hands for reverse table. See if you can negotiate a position here. If your shoulders can load it, lift your hips. If your shoulders can't load it yet, be open to the possibility that they will be able to. Don't catastrophize. And just work with what is manageable. Coming down, boat pose. Okay, reverse table. Coming down, boat pose. Lowering to half boat and coming all the way down. Shake yourself out here. Release and relax the body. Okay, moving into a little bit of a twist. So let's interlock the hands behind the head, draw the knees in, roll over onto the side, and curl into a fetal position with your elbows curled in by the face. From here, leave your legs where they are, but lead with your left elbow and your left rib cage as you open up into a little bit of a twist. And then come back and kind of close yourself back in like a book. Doing that a couple of times. Work with a range of motion that works for you. And actually, instead of leading with your elbows, see if you can lead with your ribs and let your shoulder and your elbow follow. Coming back through center there when you're ready, rolling over to the right. Kind of clasping, curling it at the head. And then leading from the ribs as you open like a book. And as you feel ready, drawing in through center, keep the right knee where it is as you take the left leg down towards straight. You want to feel the sacrum, the shoulder blades, and the back of the head firmly on the ground. So if you can't get the back of your head on the ground and your chin is really lifted there, put a pillow underneath. That might help make it feel better. But keeping your sacrum, your shoulder blades, even your rib cage pulling down, nothing is pushing up to the sky here. Lengthen the left leg away from you and aim to flatten the underward crease on that left leg. So you're getting that left leg more into hip extension. Hip extension is very challenging. Drawing the left leg in, stretching the right leg long. Again, sacrum on the ground. All of the contents of the abdomen grounding down. Nothing feels like it's pushing up. Again, that would indicate sort of like an energetic leak in the system. We want everything contained, pulling in. And from there, trying to flatten the underwear crease on that right side. So if we can get some good hip extension going, that is sort of the precursor to lying out, resting in a shavasana with the legs out in a way that feels good on the low back. So if you can't find a position with yourself just sprawled out where it feels good, don't fight it. Take your knees up onto an ottoman. That usually feels pretty good for me. Or rest in a different position, like
a fetal pose or on your belly, or even coming up to a comfortable seat. So just as important as our ability to ramp up is the ability to ramp down. And being able to ramp up and down effectively, quickly, is really the key to being able to move well. And plant that in your system, in your mind here, that moving well and feeling good in your body is possible. It is part of your future, no matter how old you are or what you've been through in your life. Be open to the possibility that things can work and feel better if you put in the time, if you have a good attitude about it, if you're willing to learn. So you're welcome to end your practice here. You might also start moving around a little bit, deepening your breath. And the last place that I'll offer us will be just a few moments in a seated position to sit quietly. Have a little pause between our practice and whatever it is that's coming next for us. So find a comfortable seated position. And allow yourself to be with whatever comes up here, whether it's thoughts or bodily sensations, or sense perceptions. Alrighty, my friends. Thank you so much for joining in tonight's practice. You did a great job. I hope you feel the benefits of this in your body and your mind as we leave this place. Next week begins February, and February all of our live stream classes are going to be centered around key movement skills. So definitely make sure